Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and this is going to be one of those tying up loose ends videos. Usually I do a project and there's some little something that really should have been done as part of the project. Like when I made a mini pallet, I should have made some clamps, but I didn't. Well, that's a loose end that needs tying up. And when I got the Tapmatic, this little lever right here needs something to hold it. That's a loose end that I didn't tie up because I didn't get anything. So I'm going to take this thing here, fit it up into the little collar on the spindle, and it should be about the right length. If it's not, I'll cut a little bit of it off. Now this may take a long time before this video is finished, because I usually tie up several loose ends before I ever put all the pieces together into one video. So, I was watching 22 Plankster the other day, and I got to wondering something. Y'all figured his first name really is 22? I don't know, just wondering, how old guys are curious. Alright, well then, let's get on to tying up some loose ends. I'll get some string. Alright, so this gives me a chance to use a collet set I got a while back, and I stuck the little job in there. That's actually a 9/16 collet, because it was the only thing I could get that in. That was supposed to be 1/2 inch aluminum, but it's just a tiny bit bigger. I don't know why. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a small flat spot on one side and roll it over and make a larger flat spot on the other side. And I'm going to make it 3/4 of an inch back, because that's the size of the little ring up here where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it, let me see if I can move the camera up there. I'm going to put it right back here, and I'm going to get a longer bolt to go through it, so it'll be just hooked onto that collar. That'll keep it close to the Tapmatic all the time, and I think it'll work out. We'll find out when I get through. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but maybe. Let's see if we can get close to this thing. That's close. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll come in just a little bit closer to it and see if we can slice off the end. This end's been hammered on, because the boss lady was using it for fence posts until I gave in and built her a proper fence to keep the dog out of the garden. Of course, it wasn't keep the dog out of the garden then, it was keep the dog out of the mud. So we're going to have to cut that just a little bit further yet. But it's still kind of dinged up. So, what we're going to do is come in 750 thousandths. And that's actually 750 thousandths. So, we'll come back over here and touch down and see how big of a bite we can take at one time. That's come in about a tenth. 1/10 of an inch, that is. See that? Well, that's not going to work. I should have had the real actual 1/2-inch size bar and stuck it in a real 1/2-inch collet. But there you go. Got too greedy, tried too big a cut, and things were too loose. Back to the drawing board. Well, never one to actually learn a lesson, even the hard way. I'm going to try it again. Only this time from straight above and very little feed against it. I tightened it, I think, much tighter this time. No guarantee. It's going to look awful, but it'll remind me about tightening things down every time I look at it, which is probably a good thing. Alright, we'll turn this thing over and we'll use that cutter to, as a stop to let us know how far we should have gone. Alright, we won't make much of a flat here. This will be for the bolt head, and it won't need a lot of flat space. Okay. That looks like it's about right. I got thinking about moving that chuck into there, and it would stick way down here, and I'd have to move the head up. I zeroed so nicely there that I could put a hole right in the middle if I just use a center cutting end mill, 1/4 inch, and that'll make my bolt hole just right. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I don't know why I didn't think of that in the first place. That stuff should keep the aluminum from sticking too much. should go through any second now. There we are. Sorry about knocking you guys around with my head. Alright. That part should be about done. And all I need to do now is to deburr it and get a longer 1/4 bolt to go in that collar, and we'll be in business. Alright, that'll work when I use the Tapmatic, but it's not something that can stay on there all the time. And it may be a couple of inches long for the Tapmatic, but it won't matter because this thing will be way up in the air and it still probably won't stick down too far. So I'll just throw that in the box with the Tapmatic, and we'll figure that's one loose end tied up, and we'll move on to the next loose end. I should have put a pin or a grub screw or whatever you want to call it in this thing from the side to hold it on when I made it, but it was getting close to Wednesday night, and I usually put my videos out on Thursday, so I didn't do it. So now I'm going to take the little bolt there, and I'm going to put a groove in it for a grub screw to run back and forth so this guy right here doesn't fall off. And I'm going to put a plastic end on it, make a regular redneck special knob there. So first step is to put a groove in that, and then I'll grind the head off the bolt. And you know, it's just one of those things you do when you're tying up loose ends. That ought to hold it. After all it has to do is just hold that piece of aluminum on there. Well, there you go. All it's in the chuck key. So now I want to grind this where it's just a flat piece, and that won't take but a couple seconds. That's all there is to it. That'll help the plastic and get on past the bolt head. I'm going to put a 1024 grub screw in there, or set screw depending on your version of English, and the drill bit for 50% thread is a number 20, so that's what we're going to use here, a number 20, and we're going to drill right on into the middle of that hole. But nobody ever accused me of doing anything smart, so I'll see how far down I can thread. I may drill it out for a little bit, you know, about that deep with a larger hole. I don't know. Anyway, we got started on it, so we're going to go. I'm just going to use the drill press to hold the tap. I think it'll do the job. I'll just turn it by hand. That didn't come through there yet. You guys tell me when it comes through. Pierre, let me know when this thing comes through, okay? Well, I think it came through. You didn't say a word. I didn't hear nothing from you. Alright, so we'll let her loose and check it out. Yeah, it came through. and Pierre was back there sleeping or something. Alright, so I'll clean this up and we'll screw in the set screw and this job is finished. Alright, so before the compressor kicks on again, I've got the temperature coming up on all the heat bands there. I've got my bolt with a head that would ground down there to make room for the plastic in the little holder, mold, whatever, and I'm going to screw it on the bottom here so it can start heating up right along with all the rest of it. I'll just screw this piece on first. If it burns your finger, you're close enough. Alright, come on. This is not cooperating good because my bolt sticks out quite a ways. Hang on. I've got other clamps, so I'll have to get one of those. I've got 3 heat bands on there. One right down here at the very tip to help heat up that mold, because I figured a hot mold was better than a cold one for the plastic, you know, to go and flow around in all the directions it needs to go. So I'm letting this thing heat up for, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, because I don't remember how long it took before to get all the stuff hot enough to really make them start popping out. I know there was one time when I made about 10 of them in a row and things were really warmed up by then, so that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just waiting for enough time for the thing to really be hot. That is the mold. The rest of it's staying in the neighborhood of 400. Well, I'm feeling impatient, so let's give her another shot and see if it's going to make a good one. I know that tube is pretty well full of plastic because this thing's only going down about there, and it can go all the way to the bottom. I guess the time's come to check it out, find out. Once again, we've got plastic in the hole there, but you don't know what's down further in. You don't want to get this plastic on your fingers. It's just like hot chewing gum. I'll bet we made a good one this time. You guys take a little nap, then I'll go pull it out of the mold. I dumped it in some water, and it's still a little bit warm. Not too warm, and it's still maybe a little bit soft, but I think that you can call this a success. Look at there. Now I'll have to cut that off there in the little flashings pieces on the edge there, but basically we've got us a knob for the sight pusher. We can go on to the next thing now. They do say the proof of the pudding's in the tasting, so there's a little taste right there. It stays on, and it's retractable. I don't know what it is I'm running into here. There's a rough spot in there somewhere. Feel it. That may wind up being another loose end to tie up later on to figure out why this thing catches like that. Alright, well anyway, we made a knob for it and we've got it latched on there so it doesn't come off. We'll move on to another loose end somewhere else. Well, have you ever wondered what's inside a gear motor? Well, here's a brand new Dayton gear motor at 1.2 RPMs at the output shaft. And what we're going to do is we're going to disassemble it. I've already pulled out the screws. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take it, turn it over like that. Inside here you can see holes for where the four little shafts there will fit into. It's got a pin here to locate everything. And of course in here is the gear from the motor itself, the main shaft of it, the little spiral gear like for a rack. And once we get into this portion of it, of course, we've got a lot of little gears that are turning on other little gears. See if I can zoom you in just a tiny bit closer. See if I can move the camera without making everybody sick. Alright, there we are. That looks pretty good. That may be big enough on your computer screen to see it. Alright, so this little gear right here has another gear inside of it, which I guess is pressed in because it doesn't show any kind of fasteners of any kind. Set him down over here. The next guy, this one here, he's got a little standoff here to take up the slack between it and the motor housing. And he's got the same kind of construction. He's got the little gear, the big gear, and I'm assuming they're pressed together. Okay. And we move on to the next gear. And each one of these, whoops, I pulled a little collar off. Well, I don't know if I can reach it right now. Each one of these gears is turned or turns another gear. This is a reduction from this. Alright. Here's a little sleeve for this one. The sleeves get a little bit longer as you get deeper in. Same construction. Little gear in the middle, big gear on the outside. Now then we're going to get down to the end of it. Here's your final drive right here. And this is the piece that sticks outside the case. Got a nice bearing there to run in, a needle bearing. I don't know if you can see that or not. So that's what's inside your typical gear motor. We're hoping not to do an AVE on this. I hope I can get it all back together. So let's come back along here. And if I can get this to come out of there. That's probably how it goes. I'll have to go back and look at the video so I can be sure of what I've done. But that looks right to me. And that's a definite maybe. So just some nice thick gear oil in it. See what happens when I try to put the little booger back together. There's a pin. There's a pin. All right, so okay. It turned 180. Apparently, when I took it apart, I set it back down here 180 degrees off of where it was before. Okay. So I'll turn off the camera and put the screws in it, and then we'll come back and see if things work. Alright, so I got it back together finally. I'm not going to crank it up because this mentions adding an external capacitor, and I'm not going to do that. Don't have one, so I'm going to put this note in there, and because I don't have any gear oil. I need to get some for other uses around here, but I'll put that in the box so I'm reminded it doesn't have gear oil in it. And that's it. All it takes Lena down to the hospital, you know, to have their first child. So after the proceedings there and all, the doctor comes out and he tells Odie, he says, well, he says, got good news and bad news for you. He says, the good news is you got a healthy baby boy. He says, the bad news is he's a cesarean. So Odie, you know, he starts crying, you know, a little bit and sniffing there. And when he finally gets hold of him, he says, Val, he says, I'm glad he's healthy, baby. He says, but I sure was counting on him being a Norwegian. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.